Meet Black Salt Circle. We are your guides. My name is Marjorie.
And my name is Katie.
And today we are going to talk about Ostara. So we're going to talk about when it is, some things that are linked to it, the correspondences, and yeah. Ostara marks the spring equinox and generally falls between March 19th and the 23rd. This year, in 2023, it falls on March 20th, but we'll be celebrating as a coven on Saturday, March 18th. Ostara is one of the 8 Sabbats in the Wheel of the Year. Ostara celebrates the start of spring, fertility, and growth. Early Anglo-Saxon pagans often used this time to celebrate and worship the West Germanic goddess of spring, Ostara.
So now we're going to talk about some of the correspondences that typically go along with Ostara.
So the first correspondence we want to talk about is herbs and plants. So some of those correspondences are going to be clover, daffodil, jasmine, honeysuckle, iris, violet, and lemon balm.
For crystals, you'll typically want to gravitate towards some of the ones with more soft colors, such as amethyst, rose quartz, moonstone, moss agate, aquamarine, jasper, and bloodstone.
As far as animal correspondence goes, you're going to want to kind of gravitate towards rabbits, lambs, chicks, and butterflies.
Some food correspondences include leafy greens, carrots, beets, cakes, any sort of bread, especially hot cross buns, or if you'd like, you can always play hot cross buns on the recorder if you learned that in 5th grade.
Like the rest of us. So some colors that are associated with Ostara are basically any kind of pastels, greens, pinks, lilacs, yellows. We were talking about the lighter colors for crystals, and that kind of just goes into colors as well, whether that's candles or any other kind of.
A couple of the deities you might want to work with around this time of year, and this is by no means an exhaustive list, there are so many, but some of them are Eostre, like we talked about, the West Germanic goddess of springtime, Ashanti, who is the goddess of the earth in Ghana, Freya, who's the Norse goddess of fertility, Osiris, who's the king of all of the Egyptian gods, and his wife Isis, who is the goddess of fertility, Saraswati, who is a Hindu goddess of the arts, Persephone, who's a Greek goddess of springtime and the underworld, Blodeuwedd, who is a Welsh goddess of springtime, and the Green Man, who is one of the Celtic gods of nature in the forest.
And like Katie mentioned, this is everything we've mentioned above, including the deities. This is not an exhaustive list. This is just like a really good starting place. So, how do you want to celebrate Ostara? Well, some ways that you can is going for a walk in nature and appreciating the changing weather. Ostara marks the beginning of spring, so it's a perfect time to do that. Another way is doing some spring cleaning, both physically and spiritually. You can take some time to tidy up your living space and your spirituality with a cleanse of some kind, just however you want to do that. You could do some baking or cooking. A popular Ostara activity is to bake hot cross buns, like we mentioned earlier. Another thing you can do is to plant some seeds or do some gardening. You can also collect some spring flowers, and you can collect them, make them into a flower crown if that's something that's interesting to you. You could also kind of put them on your altar. You could also make a birdhouse, that way we can help our nature friends. Decorate eggs, which goes hand in hand, I feel like. You can also make a spring simmer pot, and you can set up an altar.
So what are some of the things you might consider putting on your Ostara altar? You might put decorated eggs, you could put rabbits, you can put iconography of any deities that correspond, you could put flowers, fresh flowers, any corresponding crystals. You could also do pastel colored candles. You could do a tarot card that you feel corresponds to the season if you'd like. Just as an example, here is my Ostara altar. I have 2 shelves, free hanging shelves, and on there I have some lavender, I have a pink candle for springtime, I have a yellow candle for happiness, I've got a green candle for prosperity, I have a oracle card depicting Aoster, and I also have a statue of Brigid, who might be more appropriate for Imbolc, but she's also a goddess of springtime, so I decided to leave her up for this season. I've got a couple of corresponding crystals, including one that's in the shape of an egg, and I also have an oracle card with a rabbit on it.
So, with all of that being said, how is Black Salt going to be celebrating this year? So, this is our first Ostara as a new coven. So we will be painting and naturally dyeing some eggs while we learn about the Sabbat. Wooden eggs and river rocks will also be provided to paint for members who prefer not to work with animal products. And then afterwards, we are encouraging members to join us for a fair folk walk around the Lübeck Arboretum, where we will learn about the first signs of spring. We'll look for them. It may be a little bit chilly. The weather's not looking great, so you want to make sure you do bring a jacket and stay warm. Also, just to note, our Sabbath celebrations may vary a little bit from year to year. They won't always be exactly the same. So if you're viewing this video after the 2023 celebration, we may have something a little bit different. But we will always add it and update it for you. Also, as with all of Black Salt's rituals and Sabbath celebrations, we do encourage you to participate even if you aren't able to attend in person, which is the whole point of this video. Please feel free to share any of your pictures of your eggs or your rocks that you paint, as well as any pictures that you take of your blooming plants or herbs, or other signs of spring to our Ostara 2023 album once it has been posted after the celebration by our designer, Gabby.
So that's all we have for you today about Ostara. We hope to see you at our Sabbath on Saturday, but if not, no worries. Just be sure to post your pictures, and thank you so much for watching. Blessed be.
Blessed be.